There is nothing more dangerous than solitude. Wolfgang von Goethe. Imagine yourself inside an empty room. There is no phone, no television, and no distractions whatsoever. No conversations, no familiar sounds. Just you and your own thoughts. How long do you think you could endure it? A day? A few hours? Or perhaps just a few minutes before anxiety begins to creep through your body like an unavoidable shadow? If the thought of being alone for too long makes you uneasy, you're not the only one. Human beings fear solitude because it forces them to confront what they constantly try to avoid in their daily lives, their own minds. But is solitude truly an enemy? Or do those who learn to master it reach a rare level of self-awareness and greatness? The fear of solitude is the fear of oneself. Loneliness is one of humanity's most profound fears. Since ancient times, we have been designed to live in groups, relying on one another for survival and safety. Our brains are wired to seek connections, as historically, isolation meant vulnerability, starvation, and even death. However, in modern times, our fear of solitude extends beyond the need for physical protection. It is not merely the absence of company that terrifies us. It is the idea of being left alone with our own thoughts. Friedrich Nietzsche understood this dilemma well and left a powerful warning. He who fights with monsters should see to it that he does not become a monster himself. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. Nietzsche. The undeniable truth is that we avoid solitude because it forces us to confront what frightens us the most, our traumas, our mistakes, our deepest anxieties. In everyday life, we fill our minds with distractions, social media, work, trivial conversations. But when those distractions disappear, what remains? Silence. And it is in silence that the truth emerges. But is this truth truly as terrifying as we imagine? Or is there something valuable waiting to be discovered within it? Solitude, a path to greatness or a road to destruction. Solitude can be either a gateway to greatness or an endless abyss. The distinction between these two realities lies in how we choose to face it. Some individuals, when confronted with their own minds, discover a vast universe of self-awareness and inner strength. They learn to listen to their own thoughts without fear, to shape their identity without the constant influence of external judgment. For them, solitude becomes a refuge, a sacred space where their true essence can flourish. On the other hand, there are those who, when left alone, become prisoners of their own minds. Their thoughts turn into adversaries, their insecurities expand, and little by little, solitude ceases to be a choice and transforms into a sentence. Nietzsche warned of this danger. One man goes to his neighbor because he seeks himself, another because he wishes to lose himself. Nietzsche. If someone clings desperately to the presence of others, it may be because they fear what they will encounter when left alone with themselves. But is running away truly the best solution? Or is there a path where solitude can be transformed into a tool for growth and liberation? Perhaps the answer lies in understanding how our emotional dependence distances us from who we truly are. Emotional dependence and the loss of identity. Many believe that happiness can only be found in the company of others. They rely on relationships to feel whole and construct their identities based on the expectations of those around them. However, this dependence comes at a steep cost, the loss of authenticity. From an early age, we are taught to seek acceptance. We shape our behaviors, opinions, and even our dreams to please others and fit in. But when we become prisoners of this need, we drift further away from our true selves. Psychologist Abraham Maslow identified that beyond basic necessities, we all have meta-needs, higher truths such as personal growth, beauty, and a sense of purpose. He emphasized that these needs cannot be fully satisfied by other people. Anthropologist Ernest Becker took this idea even further by stating, "It is impossible to draw blood from a stone. It is impossible to extract spirituality from a physical being." Ernest Becker. Many seek absolute meaning in the figure of a romantic partner, elevating that person to the status of a god. However, inevitably, when this god fails, they are transformed into a demon. If you find the ideal love and try to make it the sole judge of good and evil within yourself, as your efforts intensify, you become nothing more than a reflection of another person. Ernest Becker. Losing oneself in another may provide temporary relief, but it is also the formula for a fragmented existence. True growth begins when we allow ourselves to be alone and finally uncover who we are, without the masks we wear to please others. But how can solitude be transformed into a path to self-discovery? Solitude as a tool for self-discovery. If solitude forces us to confront our true essence, then it can be perceived either as a curse or as a gift. What defines this perception is not solitude itself, but how we choose to use it. Psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott studied the impact of solitude on the human psyche and identified a fascinating phenomenon. Many people develop a false self, an identity crafted to meet external expectations, driven by the fear of abandonment. This mask becomes so ingrained that in many cases we forget who we truly are. According to Winnicott, the only way to break this illusion is by developing the ability to be alone. It is in solitude that we can become who we truly are, free from the need to conform to external expectations. Donald Winnicott. When we voluntarily embrace solitude, we begin to differentiate our authentic needs from those that have been imposed upon us. But is simply being alone enough to give meaning to life? Perhaps the answer lies in how we perceive our relationships. The illusion of relationships as the sole source of meaning. We live in a society that teaches us that happiness is found in relationships. From childhood, we are conditioned to believe that we need others to feel complete. But is this truly the case? Object relations theory, extensively studied by psychiatrist John Bowlby, suggests that an individual's emotional maturity can only develop through interpersonal connections. Intimate bonds with other human beings are the core around which a person's life revolves. John Bowlby. On the other hand, psychiatrist Anthony Storr argued that personal growth and self-discovery can be found in solitude, particularly when one dedicates oneself to creative work. The effort to shape and bring order to creative work is a means by which we impose structure and harmony upon our minds. Anthony Storr. The truth is that relationships can enrich our journey, but they cannot define who we are. To achieve a state of balance, we must learn to appreciate our own company. But what happens when someone truly embraces solitude? Solitude as the foundation of greatness. Brilliant minds throughout history have understood that solitude is not a burden, but an essential necessity for personal growth. Russian writer Fyodor Dostoevsky believed that without moments of isolation, a person could never reach their true essence. Solitude is as essential as food is to the body. Fyodor Dostoevsky. When we step away from external expectations, we gain the freedom to explore our own thoughts and emotions without the constant influence of others. In this space of introspection, we develop emotional independence, mental clarity, and an inner strength that remains unshaken by external opinions. However, caution is necessary. Solitude can be a springboard for growth, but it can also become a trap, an abyss with no return. Even Goethe himself warned, "There is nothing more dangerous than solitude." Goethe. Is there then a way to balance the dangers and benefits of solitude? Perhaps the secret lies in how we choose to face it. The paradox of solitude. The price of greatness. Solitude carries a paradox. While it has the power to destroy, it also holds the potential to elevate us to a rare level of self-awareness and inner strength. Those who fear solitude often go to great lengths to avoid it, seeking distractions or diving into relationships that serve merely as emotional crutches. But those who have the courage to embrace it discover a path that few dare to walk, the path to sovereignty over oneself. Poet Rainer Maria Rilke understood this dilemma and wrote, "It is good to be solitary, for solitude is difficult. If something is difficult, then it must be all the more reason for us to undertake it." Rainer Maria Rilke. The final question is, are you willing to pay the price of solitude? Because those who master it do not merely find peace, they attain a level of inner freedom that few ever experience. The choice is yours.